Today it was a matter of assessing the damage and beginning cleanup operations. All reported injuries were minor. Telephone and electric power companies worked today to return service to harder-hit sections. Southwestern Bell said about 2,000 phones had been knocked out by the flying debris. One of the worst-hit areas was along Garland Road. At the Towers Apartments, winds caught the rock and tar roofing and slammed it into some 50 auto windows and into one apartment unit. 2 women and 3 children huddled in a bathroom and escaped injury. And at the Open Road mobile lot, damage was placed at $30,000 after 27 vehicles were overturned or disheveled. Not far away, only one plate glass window remained in the night Toyota showroom after the wind struck just after 6 o'clock. I talked with salesman Jack Crow and manager Wayne Stevens about the storm.
Well, I was standing over in the corner of the showroom, back behind a station wagon when it hit, and glass and ceiling and light fixtures and everything started falling around me, so I ducked down behind the station wagon, and the wind seemed to be trying to pull me in all directions. It just didn't seem to be trying to go in one direction, just trying to pull me in every direction. It was so strong that I was about 2 steps away from an office door and couldn't get to it.
We're still trying to determine the full extent of the damage, but I would say something over $50,000. We've got a lot of damage to the building and the signs and the lights and cars. We've got about 60 cars that were damaged to some extent, and it's hard to say at this time, but I'd say something over 50,000, maybe upward to 100,000.
Do you think it was a tornado?
Definitely was a tornado. Definitely was.
Signs and windows seemed to get the brunt of the winds. At Sulphur Springs, 5 airplanes were damaged, 3 others were hit at Gilmer. Just about every mobile home site in the storm's path sustained some kind of damage. This is Dean Angel, Channel 8 News, on the move.
I think there are some viable alternatives where we can raise money which the zoo needs for operation. I don't think that it's been demonstrated that enough funds can possibly be raised by the fee to solve the problems that we have. Some of these alternatives are better, more adequate city funding for the park department and for the zoo. A second is county contribution to the operation of the parks and the zoo. And a third major source could be a reorientation of the Zoological Association from a policy and operating body to one of fundraising for the zoo.
Funds to meet these current needs are judged to be unavailable through existing traditional avenues. Park and Recreation Department budget, Park and Recreation Department reserve funds, Park and Recreation Department bond funds, City of Fort Worth general fund, government matching funds, and etc.
The end result of the meeting is that on March 1st, 1972, there will go into effect a $1 gate charge for persons over 12 at the Fort Worth Zoo. The City Council's not really happy. The Park and Recreation Board's not really happy at having to do what they did today. But it may be that it was the only thing to do for the preservation of the Fort Worth Zoo. I'm Jay Lewis, Channel 8 News on the Move at the Fort Worth City Hall.
Since I am 5 years old.
You mean in Canada, when you start to school, you start playing hockey then?
Yeah, that's when you go to school. First year you go to school, you get your first pair of skates.
When did you become a goaltender?
When I was 12 years old. I was a left wing before that, but one game the goalie never show up for the game, and nobody wants to play in the net, and I have to put the pads on, and since that I am a goalie.
Surprisingly, I'm not really having any difficulties. I seem to be in good enough shape to play, and I can hold up, for a whole game. And I've just got the same old aches and pains I've always had in my knee and in my back, but they haven't restricted me yet, so I'm pretty lucky.
I know that after that first game in Washington, you were very, very tired. Do you still get as exhausted after a ball game?
Yes, I get kind of exhausted, but I don't know, it seems like I'm always that way. It depends on what type of game it is. If it's a hard-hitting game, especially like the one we had against New York, where there was a lot of hard hitting going on in the line, you can seem to get run down. It depends on the type of game you're playing.
Got to be pleased too. You played against one of the better defensive ends in the NFL, and Fred Dreyer, and I didn't see him back on Staubach at all day.
Well, I made a point this week to try to do my best against him. Anytime you come up against a good end like Dreyer, who's fast and gets to the passer quite a bit, you try to really put on an extra effort, and that's what I did.
Of course, you're a long-time member of this ball club. You were here during the stretch drive last year. Compare the two clubs. Do you feel this one is much better than what you had last year?
Yeah, I think so. I think depth-wise is the best way to explain it. We seem to have better depth than we've ever had. We get somebody hurt, somebody else come off that bench and do just as good a job, and this is what really helps us.
Well, we'll start with Thomas and Hill again. We just don't feel like we can break up this tandem that's been working so effectively. We hope to work Walt Garrison in at fullback some. Now, whether we'll move Thomas into halfback at all will depend a lot on the game and how it's coming.
After winning 6 straight games in a row, a team surely can be overconfident. How will this affect your team?
Well, I don't know how it'll affect us in winning 6 in a row. I think it gives you momentum. I think that we'll stay in there pretty tough. We know we have to get everything working for us for Minnesota on the playoffs if we're fortunate enough to make it up there, and so we just feel like we've got to keep playing.
You said you wanted to win the Eastern Division, but did you ever consider trying for the runner-up spot for a warmer playoff climate?
I don't think so. I think that when you're in this business, you're playing the best teams, and I think any of them can beat you, and I think we've got to take on Minnesota if possible right off, and if we win that one, we're back home, and I think that's pretty significant that you can play the NFC championship game in your own park.
What sort of a problem will St. Louis bring you Saturday afternoon?
I think the difficulty will be in the passing game. I think with guys like Gray, who runs a 9-300, and Gilliam, who's a great deep threat, we're going to have a very explosive group outside. And this is a type that can make a big play on you, and therefore we've got to keep that down. If we can do that, I think we can win.
What's going on here at Six Flags Mall in Arlington is the regional pecan judging contest. 350 to 400 pecan growers from Central Texas are here with their wares, have them judged. This is one of the stops toward the state finals in the pecan contest. I thought at this point, since we're dealing with such succulent, tasty morsels, to deal with the complexities of getting them out of these rather hard shells that nature's provided them for protection. Now, the history of pecan cracking is a unique one. It sort of followed the state of man's art. Of course, the first pecan cracker was the first thing that man was provided with, and that was teeth. It's a highly ineffective method. It tends to break teeth. Well, following the tooth as a pecan cracker, you also swallow a lot of holes. One came to the foot with the invention of the shoe, obviously. One places the pecan on the floor, and one steps on it thusly. The problem is you end up with a rather messy pulp. It's also hard to separate the meat from the shell. When the term use your head was coined, it was immediately adopted by pecan crackers, aficionados of the art. They would take a solid structure, such as a wall, place a pecan against the wall, and immediately crack it. This also heralded the invention of the headache. But there's an easier way. Automation has its out. Dr. Arlie Powell has the latest addition to the pecan cracker's art. Dr. Powell, have a pecan.
All right. I can show you how we're cracking it here in the show. This is what's known as an inertia nut cracker. It's a very simple device. It sells for about $6 to $10, depending on whether you get the one for the standard pecans or the native pecans, the little ones. It's a matter of just placing the pecan in the anvil, sliding this little sleeve over it to protect you, to keep the pecans from flying all over, bringing this little arm back, and it rolls out cracked, just like you see.
That's what I've been waiting for all along. Well, at this pecan contest, we finally found an entire piece of pecan meat. And by the way, while I'm thinking of it, would you call this a pecan test? Jay Lewis, Channel 8 News on the Move in Arlington.
I was back in the grease bay, or grease rack, in the back there, and the wind hit, and I thought it was a car backfiring because it was popping. And I moved to the back door back there, which all the grease bay doors was open to look out, and I noticed there wasn't no car popping. I seen the winds in, and I moved back toward the front, and the guy that owns the gas station, a good friend of mine, he was moving up toward the front here, was going to come inside the office and pick up some papers and stuff off the desk. And I got a hold of him and pulled him back and told him his glasses might blow out. And about that time they did, and we all hit the floor. There was 4 of us in there, and I got over next to the wall, and one guy, he got right over next to me there, and we all kind of curled up. It's kind of a lot of racket. We didn't realize what was happening, but we kind of thought what would happen. We thought that we'd had a tornado or something.
It's a good league down here, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a very good league, and I really like to play here.
Now, when will you find out tonight if you will be the goalie or if Kenny will be it?
He's going to tell us before we go for the warm-up. He gave the puck to the goalie who's going to be in the net.
Does the goalie lead the team out for the warm-ups?
Yes, the starting goalie leads the team out for the warm-up.
Do you play the nets differently for one team as opposed to another? How would you play tonight against Tulsa if you do get the job?
If I play tonight against Tulsa, you have to watch that. You have to watch those forward from Tulsa because they always around the net and they try to how do you say? They try, if when a guy shoots from the point, they try with the skate with the with the stick to.
You say it in French. That's all right.
I don't know. I'd say in English. They try to just hit the puck and go another way, and and they always around the net. That's about it.
So it's pretty busy when Tulsa comes, isn't it?
Yeah, they got a pretty good team, and we have to play well against those guys.
the figure is realized by two items. One is the fact that the hospital staff and the board of managers have been watching very carefully our expenditures through the year by a budgeting process. We have a monthly review of the budget and exactly where we are, item by item, department by department, on where we are over or we're under on our budget.
When you say you've got increased patient revenue, do you mean you've got more patients paying the same amount each, or the same number of patients paying more per capita?
Well, the patient that Peter Smith pays on his ability to pay. It's on a scale. The patient who makes more money will pay more money for the services rendered. If he doesn't make as much, then he pays less.
Try again. Come on.
That brick is over there.
Oh, there he is. Yeah.
Yes, is that you over?
All right, let's try it one more time.
All right. Keep him going.
One more is coming.
There we go. Go put her on the road. Go put you on the construction crew.